masters of the universe, the Legends of Grayskull podcast.
Legends of Grayskull is a fan podcast exploring the vast worlds of He-Man and She-Ra. Join Sean Scavarna and Matthew Duke as they discuss the history and mystery of Eternia and Etheria, diving deep into all incarnations of Masters of the Universe.
Hey, you know who's back? It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Now that you know, let's go. Get ready for the show. It's the Legends of Grayskull podcast. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Right now.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to L.O.G on MYP. I am Matthew Duch, here again with Curtis Ackerman as we go through the Mike Young Productions He-Man and the Masters Universe cartoon series, episode by episode from episode 1 to 39. Curtis, how are we doing today?
Doing most excellent. How about yourself?
I am great. It's good. It's good to be back. We
Mhm.
had last week, we had that great kind of halfway through season 1 check-in episode. We got to deal with some great comments and feedback and some other stuff. So yeah, there's lots of fun. And now we are on the back half of season 1. It's flying right by.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into today's episode. We are at episode 14, and this is Underworld.
Can I? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Before you start about the story, though, I got something, but go ahead with what you got there.
Okay. Underworld, episode 14, written by Stephen Melchin, directed by Gary Hartel, story edited by Dean Stefan. The final draft was finalized on May 3rd of 2002, and it aired in the U.S. on December 13th of 2002. The Cartoon Network episode description: in Subternia, He-Man and King Randor must prevent Skeletor from attacking Castle Grayskull from below.
So, little nitpick, and this isn't about the episode. This is the series in general.
Okay.
When they start the episode and he gets to, fabulous secret powers, and then, Skeletor and everybody attacks and stuff.
Yes.
Like, it was fun at the beginning, like the first 3 episodes when that was going on and stuff, and they did it. But like, I want to hear the rest of that speech. Like, I want, I don't want that same. I wish they would have changed it up and at some point gave us the full, speech and everything. So
it's funny because this is actually we haven't brought this up on here, right? Okay. No. But yeah, this is definitely something that Sean and I have gone into in the previous 177 episodes. I completely agree with you. It was, and for me, again, there was the beginning, but like, yeah, the first time it's like, oh, cool. And then it's like, oh, they're going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
To where at this point, like in our rewatch, I'm skipping the intro. I don't even let it play anymore. I'm skipping it on Amazon Prime as I'm watching it because
I always watch it, but it just I feel like the animation is really cool. I love seeing the redesigns on several of the villains and stuff. So I watch it every time, but it's like I just wish I would get the rest of that thing. But anyway.
Yeah, either that or just like transition to something completely different. Like just a complete 2000X intro. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, stop hitting that joke. Quote.
Yeah. So anyway, sorry, a little nitpick I had to get off my chest.
Nope, I completely agree, and I will definitely get back into intros during season 2, and what they do for some of that. So, which by that point was definitely a breath of fresh air. All right, so we get into this episode. We start off at the Royal Palace. We've got Orko and Adam in the dining hall, which hopefully Man-at-Arms doesn't find them there because
kicking the door.
In like, oh my God, it's not meal time. What are you doing in here?
Somebody's eating. Boom.
How dare they? But no, Orko and Adam are actually, Adam's trying to figure out the proper etiquette for a state dinner. Like, all the forks look the same, and we're back to the little bit of a snarky Adam complaining about his dad. And
yeah, I got a problem with that. It feels like all of the progression that we've made with Adam is lost in this episode. It's almost like the writer of this episode was not aware of everything that's happened before this, because like he makes the line that that all his dad ever does as the king is order people around.
Yeah.
Clearly he knows that's not true. I mean, when he's He-Man, he does not talk that way. Like unless somehow by channeling the power of Grayskull, it also gives you powers of maturity. I don't understand how he can, like, and it's not like he's putting on a show for other people. It's not like he's trying to act like the aloof prince in front of people, because the only two people in the room, as far as he knows, are him and Orko, and Orko knows the secret. Right. So this isn't like him playing the role of Adam. This is just being immature and complaining about the king, which I don't get. It doesn't make sense to me after everything that we've seen earlier in this season.
See, I definitely have I'm feeling you about this episode with the writer not necessarily we'll get into my stuff a bit later on, not necessarily knowing the whole Bible and not, but right here, I think it's just, honestly, I'm looking at it more what you've been saying, like how Adam just kind of has to take some stuff to protect the dual identity. And this is just kind of him like kind of resenting that a little bit. Like, oh, my dad's always on my case. Now he's on me about this. And like, but I'm really He-Man. Like, he doesn't go into all that. But I think I took it as just some of that. Like, he's just venting, like, and if anything, maybe him being He-Man is a bit more like, more the other side. Like, with all this fighting and everything, who cares about what fork I use?
Well, and I get that. Like if your whole life is protecting your identity, doing training every single episode with Duncan,
right,
and fighting off Skeletor, I could see where picking the right fork sounds freaking stupid. I get that. But the fact that he's saying that all a king does is order people around, he knows that's not true. So unless he's just so frustrated that he's saying something that he thinks that he knows isn't true, I just don't get that part. But it just felt out of character for me, but it's just a small thing. So
yeah, it definitely more that, if anything, there's a little bit more of that initial Adam coming out, which again, that is who Adam was for 16 years of his life. So, but yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there. It's a little bit, not that he's saying something that's not true, but he's over exaggerating it. All my dad does is this. Like, that's not true. Yeah, but I'm pissed at him.
Yeah, so I get it.
It is. But he is interrupted, then Orko, to help lighten the mood, starts dueling Adam knife versus fork as Duncan and Randor enter in and catch them. Luckily, Duncan is okay with this. Like, literal metal hitting against each other is fine. That doesn't raise any red flags. But if he had heard someone chewing on the other side of that door, it would have been a Skeletor attack.
Yeah. Yeah, and they give Adam a lecture on taking affairs of state seriously, which, rightfully so.
Right.
And then talk about how they're off to have some peace talks between the Spillians and Caligars.
Yep. So. And I like that for all the grief that we've given Randor about, like, he's always on Adam. I like how in this instance, Randor's like, caught him fooling around again. And he's like, okay, that's it. You're coming to work with me. We got to go do these peace talks.
Bring your son to work day. Yeah.
Right. But I like it better than just always harping on him. But in this instance, Randor's like, well, come on then. Like, you want to talk about how, this doesn't matter.
You want to see what a king really does? Come see,
Right. And not only that, but like, going back to Filmation, you would always get Randor on the throne expressing his disappointment in Adam, but like never being the proactive, like, you know, well, no one else, you know, I have to raise my son. You know what I mean? Like that was nice to see, where he's like, okay, if anybody's gonna get you on the right track to be king, it's gonna be me. So,
well, I mean, spoiler alert for the rest of the episode. Randor is the only thing I like about this episode. I'm just gonna let you know right now. There's a lot that I dislike. There's gonna be a lot of gripes, but Randor is the thing that I really do like. You know, not only that he's taking this active role and showing his son, but he's a more active in the trenches king. He's not, you know, the Filmation-y, you know, sitting on the throne drinking wine, you know, not getting involved guy. So I like that a lot. I like this version of Randor, probably the best of any version of Randor in any of the cartoons.
I can see that. And it's funny too. I should have started the episode with it. I almost did. But after knowing how you felt about Skywar, I was really curious how this episode was going to go with you, because there's definitely a lot of similarities. But yeah, so they head off. At the meantime, we're back at Snake Mountain, and Skeletor is lamenting the fact that he has tried everything. He's got a little holographic model of Grayskull. He's frustrated. He's swinging his Havoc Staff at it. He tried by land, by sea, and air. Skeletor is there. Which I found interesting, because I'm like, and again, it has to allude to the idea that there's stuff that's happened that doesn't make an episode, in the fact that he actually hasn't tried a sea attack that we have seen.
I think maybe he's talking about the whole with Merman thing, but that wasn't really his doing.
Not at all. That was Rampage and Monster from the sea.
But I you know, this is one of the next gripes that I have about this, is that it just so happens that, you know, King Randor and Duncan and Prince Adam are going to have these talks underground. And that's exactly the moment that Skeletor and his minions decide we're going to go underground. Like, because we've tried all these other things, we're going to do that. And it's just the coincidental nature of it that it really bugs me, because like, if that didn't happen, like, so you're telling me that if they weren't going down there for peace talks, that Skeletor would have just succeeded here? Like that's what would have happened. Like it just, there should be a reason why they're both in the same place, not just two separate things that happen to coincide. It just, I don't know. I don't like that.
If they just spitballing here, because I hadn't thought of it. I guess I'm just, the coincidental nature, especially in the 20-minute cartoons, is just so prevalent that my brain just kind of shuts off to it. Like, but just spitballing here on that, if they had been called down there because of Spillane and Caligar thing, and it turned out that Skeletor was already there and he'd been working on something.
Here's what I would have preferred. I would have preferred that Whiplash let Skeletor know, hey, the Spillanes and Caligars, the tension's really high right now. They're focused on each other. This is the perfect time to go underground and get to Grayskull underground, because they're going to be focused on it. That would have made sense. Like then it's like, okay, we've got the same issue between the Caligars and Spillanes is bringing King Randor there to negotiate, but it's also calling Skeletor there because since they're distracted, he can get through, and that would have made sense. But it's just, you know, just like one little line could have completely transformed this, in my opinion. So
or like I say, even taking this scene out entirely and just having Skeletor already have been down there, like, you know, instead of just that coincidence that as they're talking to Adam, Skeletor's also coming up with this plan. But what I really like about this scene is the fact that it's actually Whiplash that comes up with the plan. And
before that, though, I wanted to make a point of this because there's a lot of that. We've seen this a lot throughout these episodes where the evil warriors are really like catty with each other. Like they're like, and it makes sense. I mean, they're supposed to be the bad guys. Like they have personalities that make them clash. But when Skeletor was asking about, he's like, by land, by sea, by air, nothing, what ideas do you have? And Beastman says, nothing comes to mind. And Evelyn goes, well, there's a surprise.
Yeah.
Like just that little jab. I like that part because it feels like something that would happen in that group. Like you're constantly trying to please Skeletor. Nothing's ever good enough. And so, I could see them getting like just jabbing at each other kind of thing.
Yeah, and that actually runs throughout the episode with Evelyn and Beastman, and especially with them both.
Bring that up in later, yeah,
especially both them being like the A tier villains, like there's Whiplash and Clawful and all, but then with them like kind of both being Skeletor's right hand in a way, it's kind of cool to see that almost sibling rivalry or like who's gonna
like
get the
fighting
promotion.
for dad's attention kind of thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
But then Whiplash comes up with the idea of, he grew up in Subternia. It's this area below the ground that is made up of all these tunnels and caverns, and he should be able to find a way to get to Grayskull from underneath. And we actually get some competent Whiplash here. So I'm down. And Skeletor even remarks that it's a good idea, which is surprising coming from him.
Yep.
So they head off. We join back up with Randor, Adam, and Duncan as they enter the caves of Spalea.
Some kingdom, no welcoming party.
No welcoming party. And actually, I kind of thought the same thing with them walking up is we don't see a Wind Raider. We don't see Sky Sleds. There's no Royal Guard. Like, it's literally just the three of them, which works for the episode, but just that's the kind of logic that I can't get around.
King was out and about, you would think that there would be more protection there.
I mean,
I get it. Yeah.
A handful of guards, something. Even if they leave them like, "Hey, stay here, guard the entrance,"
And maybe they did. We didn't see that part. I mean, that
Maybe.
could have been outside of the cave, but there's also something to be said for if you're having peace talks, you don't want to come up with a show of force. You want to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It didn't bug me that much, even though the whole rest of the episode did.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So they show that not everybody's into the big pageantry. They enter the caves where they're surrounded by these bat-like creatures who it turns out are the Spaleans, our second completely new race introduced to Masters of the Universe. So what do you think of the overall design of the Spaleans?
They felt very gargoyle to me.
Yep.
Like
Very
I don't know if
bat-like
that's kind of
gargoyle.
where the designs for those came from, but it felt like it was right out of there.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool. I mean, I could see, they're sitting there kind of in the dark, waiting, listening. They heard what Adam said. Like he says, we got great hearing kind of thing. And Man-at-Arms gives Adam kind of a stern look. Which is his usual. But no, I thought, to me, it's a cool little race, and the way that they're presented as far as kind of hiding and listening and being in the shadows makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, no, I love the looks of them. Lord Dactyls looks awesome. All of them, that they're weapons makers, sitting in the cave
that part
with
was
their
cool,
ore
like
and everything,
like with the forge and all that.
Yeah. It's like, okay, like we need to see these guys more. Definitely,
and it makes sense too. Like if you're down there, and typically you see, well, I don't know, like from World of Warcraft and stuff. Like you see, like the dwarves and stuff would be underground making weapons and things like that. So it just, I don't know, it feels right.
And it feels very Masters, like these humanoid bat creatures that make weapons. Absolutely. They and like I've said before, the Quadians are fine, but then when I saw these guys, I'm like, oh, okay, like here we go. These are definitely well above the Quadians for me. And so they're introduced. Randor apologizes for Adam. Him and Dactyls share a little dad moment where he's like, "Don't apologize. I've been apologizing with my son for years." Like, It doesn't get any better, Randor.
Yeah. Which I thought that was a great line, but I also thought it would have been cool throughout the episode if Adam and Dactus's son kind of built a bond. Like if there was a little moment where maybe they had to go off and do something together, but that never happened. But
yeah,
it was a cool line though.
There is some fan speculation to this day, and I definitely don't think it was intentional, especially with Stephen Melching writing the episode. But the fans have speculated that he could be referring to Batros, like from the Filmation series. He could have brought back as a Spillian as Dactus's son.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's just purely fan speculation. But yeah, so their talks are interrupted when they hear that Skeletor has been spotted in Subternia. Randor,
that's not yet.
No?
Not yet. We went back to
Did I write my notes down,
Whiplash, getting ready to take them underground, and he says not to wander off. Because that's when Beastman turns to Evelyn and says, "Feel free to wander off," like because he said it'd be dangerous if you wander off. And then there's a moment here. I don't know if you caught it. I ended up watching this episode 4 times because not because it was great, but because I kept getting so bored with it that I would find myself not paying attention. I would have to watch it again. But one thing I caught was as they're getting ready to go underground, Beastman's on one side of Evelyn, and then they like kind of switch to like go to the next frame and they're on the other, they switch sides. Yeah. And it was, it's just one of those where it's like a little kind of glitched thing, but once again, he's throwing a little jab at her, like, it's dangerous if you wander off, and he's like, go ahead and wander off. So
I like the jab and I like them continuing that, but this is the reason I forgot about this is there's a lot of these little scenes that are like, why did we cut here? In this episode, like there's no like
I think it just furders the kind of cattiness between all of them, because then she also kind of does one of these at him and he flinches.
No, I mean, it's great between,
it's just furthering the whole tension between everybody.
It's watching the episode, it's kind of an awkward flow because
I don't think it adds anything to this episode. I think it adds to the overall characters and their background and their kind of how they interact with each other, because once again, this is something that's carrying over episode to episode, unlike Filmation, and so building up these characters and who they are is kind of part of it as well. So
no, I completely agree. It's just in the flow of the episode, there's like these weird, like, we're gonna cut here for a second, and then like you'd think that would have been that you could swap that around to any point up until Randor and them meet up with Skeletor, and it wouldn't have mattered. You could take it out completely, and the story flows the same. Like there's no reason.
I think it's a way to just kind of transition from one to the other. So like Randor and them were at the kind of the entrance to the cave talking to Dactus. Then you go over here with Whiplash and kind of taking them underground. And then you go back to these guys, and now they're further underground looking at the swords being made and stuff. I think it's just a way that you don't have to see them traveling from one location to another by just kind of flipping back and forth. But yeah. So then the scout says that, there's been movement, and immediately they think it's the Caligars, but no, it's not. He says it's Skeletor.
It's Skeletor. Randor says he's going to go confront Skeletor. And Adam's impressed by his old man jumping right in. This is not, again, there was some fighting in the beginning, but that Adam missed most of that because he was playing around in Grayskull with Man-at-Arms. So this is the first time he's really seen his dad at the beginning of a mission just being that guy. Dactus gives Randor his own sword made of the finest Spillian steel. It's a really nice looking sword. It's got a nice bat motif, and it is very design reminiscent of the Spin Blade Skeletor action figure accessory. So watching this episode back in 2002, we're like, okay, is Skeletor going to get a hold of a Spillian weapon? And that's the Spin Blade,
Yeah.
Just an interesting little thing there with, especially now I haven't already seen Battle Sound Skeletor in an episode. It's like, okay. And it's just kind of weird that they used that kind of motif design, but they didn't actually go Spin Blade Skeletor at all.
Yeah.
But yeah. So they head off to try and find Skeletor. As they travel into Subternia, Adam spots Whiplash. As he draws his sword, he tells Whiplash, we found you. Whiplash, don't move. Whiplash, you're ours. How many times can he say Whiplash in like 30 seconds?
Which upsets them because apparently Whiplash is not welcome with their people anymore.
No, so we find out that the Caligars that we have heard about are actually Whiplash's people. We are treated.
I think they look way cooler than Whiplash, by the way. like the rest of them, I think. And I think I saw the 2000X, or I saw the classics toy of what's the guy's name? Ceratus. Yeah. Before I actually watched MYP, and I was like, who is this guy? Is he just like a cooler version of Whiplash? And yeah, basically that's what he is.
Basically. So they start fighting. And actually, it's funny. So Ceratus is the leader. He looks like an upgraded Whiplash, and then there's a prominent one that Man-at-Arms fights. And I do have that figure. But he actually reminds me a lot of the concept art Whiplash. With the armor and more of a spiky head and everything, which I'm holding up the most recent Masterverse Whiplash that takes a lot of cues from that early concept art. But I've always felt that he looked a lot like that. But yeah, some really cool.
And at one point, like 3 of them are basically like on Adam, and Randor jumps in and starts whooping some ass and throwing them to the side, and
he's actually pulling some He-Man moves. He
it's
wraps the tail around one and like uses it to flip him and stuff.
Beat an MFer with another MFer. He pulls the Mario 2 maneuver.
Here's my did this guy not pay attention to the rest of the Bible or the series up to this point? So finally, Randor is able to get Ceratus to calm down and recognize who he is. And Ceratus is like, "Oh, Captain Randor," and Randor tells him that he is king now, which the Spallians knew he was king.
Correct.
The Spallians, Caligars, and Randor used to fight together against Keldor. But
we don't know when they fought together. We know that they used to fight together, but we don't know when it was. It could have been before the fall of everything.
I guess that could have been true. But so the Caligars have been down in Subternia so long that they don't even know that the elders are gone. They don't know that Randor's become king.
Correct.
But the Spallians do. Yes. But then Ceratus tells them that they're going to have a hard time taking down Skeletor.
That I was
he knows
100% with you. Same thing.
He knows that Keldor has emerged, or maybe he doesn't know Keldor has emerged as Skeletor, but he knows Skeletor is around.
Right. And
I guess the reason I assumed it was the whole thing with Keldor was the fact that Whiplash is considered a traitor to them. And so I would assume him defecting to help Keldor is the reason he's a traitor.
It could be. He could have been a traitor before that.
That's possible too. That's my assumption.
Randor was king for, several years before we knew of Skeletor. Like there was,
we're saying 20.
Wall was up.
20 is kind of where we landed.
Yeah. So there's a wall up and all this kind of thing. So how he would know about Skeletor but not know about King Randor when that happened, say 20 years before that. Yeah, it did seem kind of odd, and once again, just kind of a little disjointed part of the story.
Yes. So yeah, that definitely threw me there. But yeah, and it's it's actually a bit different than. There are definitely similar tones to Sky War, but here we've got guys that were a bit closer. Like these guys fought together, and for whatever reason, they've sealed themselves off for 20, maybe even longer years, if it depends on how far back they fought. But yes, they know about Skeletor. Randor tells them that, he is going to go take care of Skeletor. And then once he's done, he's going to try and get Dactyl and Ceratus back, on their bromance patched up. So,
which he says might be more tough than beating Skeletor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But also nobody offers to help them at any point.
Nobody's like, hey, let's go with you and kind of help you with. No,
you have fun with that. We've got 25 Caligars here. But yeah. So the trio head further in. They finally encounter Skeletor and his evil warriors. And a fight begins over a river of lava.
Okay, I gotta jump in now. Because something happens here, and it happens twice in this episode, and it's like my biggest pet peeve in TVs, movies, whatever. It happens all the time. It happens a lot in police movies or police shows where you'll get like a police officer, they'll be after Joe Criminal, and they'll finally come across Joe Criminal, and he's, they're coming up on him, and he's 20, 30 feet away, and they'll yell, Joe Criminal, stop right there, when he didn't even see them. And then, of course, Joe Criminal runs away or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So they see Skeletor. They have him flanked. They have him by surprise. He has the numbers on them, because he's got 4 people and they've only got 3. And rather than kind of coming up with a plan of attack to, flank him and attack him, Randor goes, Skeletor, and he yells at him that he's going to take him down and stuff. And then Skeletor proceeds to whoop their ass. Why did you yell Skeletor? Why are you giving him advance notice? The one advantage you have, you don't have the numbers advantage. The one advantage you have is that he's there. He does not know you are there. And you gave up that advantage right at the start. It just bugs the ever-loving shit out of me.
See, but it's kind of like what Adam just did with Whiplash in the previous scene. So, there's some interesting parallels set up between.
They knew that, each other knew that each other was there. It wasn't like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
No, I know. There's some interesting parallels in this episode between father and son that I really like.
Like I said, just a huge pet peeve of mine. Whenever I see it in a movie or a TV show or whatever, it's like, you the one advantage you have, you gave away right at the start. But anyway, I digress.
But it's because it's Act 2.
Yeah,
we got to make it to Act 3. So
Skeletor starts blasting everywhere. Adam gets separated from them, and they tell him to go back and
get to the surface. Yeah,
which he kind of starts to disagree, and then Man at Arms gives him one of these.
Yeah,
and he's like,
yeah.
Okay, got it.
And it's definitely more of the more we talk about it, it's definitely more that kind of courage of Adam, do we need He-Man type thing?
Yeah, his dad's in trouble.
Adam,
he's
come on, dude.
Yeah, I don't have time to run off and become He-Man. I want to try to do something now. I totally get it.
Yep. So Adam runs off. And here is the next unnecessary scene in this episode. Adam runs off, and we get the transformation sequence.
Mm-hmm.
This episode could have gone with no transformation sequence. There is no need for it. And especially here.
Because after the transformation, we don't see him as He-Man.
No. It's the transformation sequence. We cut back to Man-at-Arms and Duncan as they're hanging to this one
pillar that's going down. Yeah.
And it starts going down into the lava. It would have gone to the commercial break then. And then when we come back, Skeletor from the commercial break, Skeletor and company take off to find the entrance to Grayskull, and Man-at-Arms
becomes Batman and has a grappling hook and
and gets them out of there.
Yeah.
And we never actually see He-Man after that. So it's again, completely unnecessary.
Mm.
Would have actually flowed better if we had no transformation sequence in this episode.
Yep.
But yeah, Skeletor and company keep going. Evil Lynn is convinced that, I think it was Evil Lynn, forgot to write down, but they're convinced that Whiplash has gotten them lost, but Skeletor realizes that the architecture has changed and that they're actually in the lost city of the ancients, the ones who are responsible for building Grayskull. And I had actually, this comes back nicely in season 2, which I had not remembered that they set this up so early on. But yeah, it's knowing what's to come. It was kind of nice seeing all this down here.
Yes.
And we'll get more in that in season 2. But yeah, Skeletor finds a mini drawbridge style entrance hidden under the rubble.
Why?
Because it's Grayskull. Oh, you don't like the mini drawbridge?
No, it's so dumb. It's so dumb. It's like if I was to go to my next door neighbor's house, right? And instead of going through the front door, I decided to dig a hole underground and go underneath his house. And then when I get to the foundation of his house, guess what? There's another front door there that looks just like the front door up top. Like, what the hell is this? There's no reason for another door down there at all. They should be blasting their way into Grayskull. But then for the door to look exactly like the drawbridge up top, like, come on, man. Like, it's so dumb.
I will say, and it's backed up when we get to that season 2 episode, but knowing Subternia is like its own kind of thriving ecosystem. We got the Spleens, we got the Caligars. It stands to reason if there was a city built around Grayskull, that there would be entrances and exits to this area. You know what I mean? So, like, I'm good with there being an actual door down there because I can see that being
even if
like
there's a door. The door to Castle Grayskull opens up the way it does because it becomes a bridge.
Right.
This door did not need to look like that. This door could have looked like a regular door. And could have been fine, or even like a steel door or something like that. It did not have to look like a mini version of the Castle Grayskull door. It to me that's just super dumb. Okay. But
I love it. I love the mini door.
All right.
I mean, if you're gonna go for a style, you gotta complete it 100%. So. Okay. We'll agree to disagree. We'll agree to disagree there.
Yep.
Their Man-Arms and King Randor join back or catch back up to the evil warriors, and
they give up their position again. And again, he shouts out to Skeletor that he's not going to get into Grayskull and stuff. Now you've only got 2 people. You've only got the 2 of you versus Skeletor and all that stuff after you just got your ass kicked by Skeletor. And again, he's going to go, Skeletor, you're not getting in there. Like, really, man? Like, you could.
He's the king, man. That's all he does. He sits there and he tells people what to do and what they're not going to do.
It just, once again, bugs the crap out of me. But okay.
They start fighting. Skeletor blasts open the door, but standing behind the ruined door like a boss is our champion, He-Man.
So, just to recap, so they Adam got separated from them. He went off. He turned into He-Man. He somehow got ahead of Skeletor and his evil warriors, made it to Grayskull that has the same door under the ground as it does up top. Went through the force field, opened the door, went into Grayskull, closed the door, put the force field back up, and then just sat there waiting, not knowing if his dad is getting killed by Skeletor, and just sat there behind the door to Grayskull.
Correct.
Is that what we're saying?
I always imagine that Sorceress teleporting him there, but that's just me.
Oh, so now, so all the times that they've been racing to Grayskull to save it and stuff, she could have just teleported him there.
Yeah, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, that is definitely a more Filmation thing, and we don't ever actually see that kind of stuff in this series. To your point, I think that definitely could have helped if there was something there, like Adam races off, So that's the other weird thing about this episode is like there's no sorceress. They're this close to Grayskull, and sorceress is not a part of it at all.
They blast the door open. They get through the force field and blast the door open, and still no sorceress.
So yeah, I think if there had been, instead of the transformation sequence, if Adam had ran off and the sorceress contacts him and is like, or even you see her, opening a portal for him, or just something, just a line of dialogue,
or
like you like
tells
to say,
him
like
a faster way to get
right,
there,
like
he can get there.
Adam, quickly head this way, and
Yeah.
you don't even have to like over explain. Just Adam, quickly this way, and then he heads off, and then we see him back there. It's like okay, like now we're good. Which I'm now realizing my mind has just always kind of done those gymnastics because I just automatically
because you had to. It's the only way to make sense of this stupid episode.
But I love the blasting open the door and He-Man just standing there like a boss.
It's so
like
dumb.
It's a
so
great
dumb.
moment,
like,
though.
Like you think about Adam's thought process, and it's like, you got separated from your dad. Last you saw him, he was falling to his doom. Like he may have died. And you transform into He-Man, go to the castle, and just sit behind the door, and then what? Twiddle his thumbs until Skeletor gets. Like even if Skeletor gets there, and he's like going against the force field, he still doesn't come out. He's just back there. La da da. Well, I'll wait till he blows open the door, and then I'll come out. La da 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 da. Oh, Dad's getting beat up out there. La da 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 da. Oh, there's doors open. Hey, I'm He-Man. Like, come on.
Yeah, I look at it more like
terrible writing. It's so bad. So bad.
So here's what I'm picturing. That's your version of He-Man behind the door.
Yeah.
I'm like, so my version is he runs off, he transforms, and Sorceress is like, don't worry, your dad's fine. We have to get you to the Grayskull. Skeletor's almost here. She opens a portal for him, and he goes through, and he's behind this door. And he's like, she's like, okay, he's going to be here any minute. He's back there like, all right, come on. All right, this is going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Okay, we got this. Here we go. All right, most powerful man in the universe. Oh, this is going to look awesome.
He's getting hyped up like Eminem from 8 Mile. Like,
yeah, he's just like, come on, let's go. Here we go. And then Sorcerer's like, I can open the door. No. This is going to be awesome. He's going to blast open the door.
It's going to be great. I'm going to be standing no idea here. How cool this moment is going to be. Just wait for it.
This is going to be awesome.
We'll replace the door later. Don't worry about it.
Sorcerer, transform into Zor and go out there with a camera. I got to see this from the other side. You got to take a picture. When he blasts open the door, I want to see a look on his face. All right, come on, this can be awesome.
Oh man, it's so freaking stupid. This episode is so bad. I mean, just terrible. Okay, go ahead.
But I love it. So Skeletor blasts open the door. He-Man standing there like a boss, and Skeletor just gets PO'd. You see him, the eyes glow the brightest red they ever have, and he's like, Skeletor, that Skeletor, right? You can picture it. He sees He-Man, his eyes just go like this. That's how Curtis is watching this whole episode.
Yeah.
He's
much.
like, no.
Four times I watched this episode.
This makes no sense. I was here. I beat Randor. I beat Man-at-Arms. I killed Prince Alan. No, it's not fair.
Yeah. So big fight ensues. Evelyn starts like shooting bricks from a wall, which I thought that was freaking cool.
And then this with Adam or He-Man and Randor with their swords, just Man-at-Arms with his shield. Oh, it's a great fight sequence.
Randor is holding his own against Skeletor for a while He-Man is battling the evil warriors. Like Randor, this is badass warrior Randor. This is not, King sitting on his butt Randor. But yeah, that part where she like shoots it's a fully formed wall. It's not like they're loose bricks around,
right? But
she somehow like takes the bricks from the wall and like starts shooting at them. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. There's some great fights. And they all keep trading around too.
And then Beastman summons like this big freaking serpent from like out of nowhere.
Yeah,
like,
so
comes out of the ground, and
that's when number one. What I just love is like even before He-Man shows up, like. Whiplash goes against Randor and Man-at-Arms goes against Beastman, but then Evelyn gets on it. But then they switched. Like I like that where it's not just like, I am going to fight you. I am going to like it's
Right.
the battle feels very kinetic and very fluid. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Whiplash is literally like throwing
They're
himself
looking
and
for
doing these body
opportunities
slams.
wherever it comes. It doesn't have to be about against this person that's in front of me. There may be an opportunity over here, and they take it. Totally
Right.
agree. Because like you see Randor is fighting Skeletor, and then He-Man's getting ready to go kind of help.
That's when
Beastman sees it, and Beastman's like, okay, here comes this serpent, and then like now He-Man's got to fight this big old serpent, which that was an awesome scene.
Yeah, that sandworm that we first saw and ties that bind. He summons another one. And I like that too. Like Man-Arms is like, because Skeletor and Randor are fighting. He-Man goes to help, and Man-Arms like, I'm going to draw them away. Evil Lyn and Whiplash fall for it, but Beastman's smart enough to be like, wait a minute here. Like, He-Man's going that way.
Yep.
So, all the evil warriors in this episode are shown to be very competent. I know there's a little bit of like, they think Whiplash is getting them lost, but
yeah,
like,
there's no doofus clawful.
Right.
Yeah.
There's none of that. Everyone's very competent, and then He-Man and Skeletor gets the upper hand on Randor, but luckily He-Man comes in and helps him. And I watched this episode twice, and I didn't catch it until the second time. But so Randor disarms Skeletor with the Havoc staff, and then Skeletor Randor fights. Skeletor's about to get the upper hand. He-Man jumps in and disarms Skeletor using the same move that Randor did.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And Randor gives a look to He-Man. It's really
I'm gonna
quick.
Have to go back and watch that part.
He gives a look to He-Man like, huh? So I like that they're kind of sowing some seeds there, and watching He-Man and Randor team up and having like a similar fighting style. It was really cool. That 2-on-1 battle against Skeletor was just a lot of fun for me. Father and son, very shades of the Filmation Prince Adam no more. Adam really gets to see what his old man's capable of.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, this is just a cool version of Randor. He's he's a warrior. He's going to be out there in the trenches. It's not, it's just really cool. I like it.
Yep. They end up. Skeletor realizes that he's not going to be able to defeat them both. He jumps on the sandworm, and he and the evil warriors take their retreat. They want to go after, but the heroes want to go after them, but they have a feeling they're going to meet something worse than anything they could do. As we see the evil warriors get greeted by Ceratus and his people who welcome home the traitor.
Sorry, I just had to watch that disarming thing. Like I watched it 4 times, didn't catch that. That is very interesting because Randor definitely looks over at him like interest, like because they do it at the same time, basically.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
I like that. That may have saved at least one part of the rating on this. So.
We're back at the palace. Prince Adam is now singing the praises of his father.
Back to the silverware.
And Randor tells him that there's gonna be a royal dinner for Lord Dactyls, and he hopes he knows the proper etiquette. And we end on a sulling Adam grumping. I really wish... Like that this is the part that actually hit me the most wrong. Was like, I can forgive the beginning of the episode where Adam's like, "Oh, my dad," blah, 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 blah. But for them to not show any growth at the end of the episode, I'm like, what are we doing? Like, you just saw how cool your dad is. Well, like we spent the episode refuting your point in the beginning about, oh, dad, he doesn't have to do anything. Yeah. But now you're still the grumpy teenager at the end. Like that should have been even Adam going, Randall, like, the etiquette, right? He's like, no, but I'm willing to learn. like showing like, no, I realize that we need all sides of it now. Like,
see, I'm like the opposite of you because I can forgive this part, but not the beginning. Because the beginning, it's more than just being frustrated about, you know, the silverware and stuff. Like he goes to the point of saying that all the king does is boss people around. That's the part that bugs me. At the end here, him being irritated about the silverware and stuff again, I totally get that. Like, so now you just had this big fight with Skeletor. You saw your dad step up and do all these cool things. And now I got to care about silverware again. Like, I don't give a frick about silverware. Like these other kingdoms, they're able to just kind of sit in the dark and listen to people waiting. But I got to worry about forks. Like, why do I care about forks? You know, I
Ceratus doesn't even know who the king is.
When your life is all about action and defending and saving people and all this kind of stuff, I can totally see getting irritated by, you know, having to care about stupid etiquette things. I totally get that. But
yeah. Do you have our moral for us?
We do. And this one actually, I think, relates to the episode for the first time in a while. They basically say leadership is more than bossing people around. It's leading by example and standing up for what is right, which is what we saw Randor do throughout the episode. So finally, they get a moral right. Maybe the person that wrote this actually wrote the story. So
somebody actually watched the episode. Good job. Real quick here, again, thanks to Yuka for his unofficial guide to the 2002 cartoon. We do have the curious translations of the episode title, where Matt horribly butchers other languages and then tells you what that translates to. In Germany, this episode was titled Alles Bus kommt von unten, which translates to all evil comes from below. All evil comes from below. In Italy, it was Duello nel sottosuolo, which is duel in the underworld.
All right.
One bit of interesting trivia. There's more in the book, so definitely try and track this down if you can. I'm just going to highlight a few things here and there. In the series Bible by Mike Young Productions, Ceratus is mentioned to be the older brother of Whiplash, but this relationship is never indicated in the episode itself or in the script. Ceratus only refers to Whiplash as a traitor.
Wow, I think that would have added a little bit to this episode.
Definitely would have. I kind of wonder if they were holding that back, like if we, get back to the Caligars.
Yeah, maybe add some more later on.
Yeah, because I will say, like, out of the races that we got, I think this whole Caligar Spallian thing definitely could have used another episode. Like, I was interested in this. And
I was interested in the Caligars, not as much the Spallians.
Right.
But the Caligars, I think, are really cool.
Well, there's no resolution to their disputes.
Right. I kind of felt like this was a carryover. Well, the first time I watched this, I thought this was a carryover where, like, we're going to see it in the next episode. Like kind of that,
like with Skywar.
Yeah. Where it was like, there's this frustration and stuff. And then, you carry over to the next episode and now like things are starting to resolve, but there's maybe still a little untrust and, So,
yeah, that's what I mean. I definitely set up the door to like come back to this whole conflict in these races.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, we never get there. All right, it is Curtis's favorite time of the show. This is our Power Sword ranking. For those who forgot, because there's no way you're starting with episode 14, we've got 3 Power Swords, best of the best, a perfect episode. We got 2 Power Swords as an above average episode. We got 1 Power Sword that is a good, solid episode. Then we got the Cosmic Enforcer that is neither good nor bad, right down the middle. Then we got the Havoc Staffs. 1 Havoc Staff is a bad episode. 2 Havoc Staffs is a worse episode. And 3 Havoc Staffs, that episode should be banished to Despondos, never to be seen again for all eternity. Curtis, would you like me to go first this time?
Yeah, please. I'm struggling with this one.
So this is actually a very high episode for me. I'm going to give it a 2 Power Swords. Honestly, the only thing keeping it from
the same episode.
This is, like I said, this is very similar to Skywar. to me. Honestly, the only thing keeping it from a 3 for me is that weird continuity wrinkle. The Caligars don't know about the king, but they know about Skeletor. So the continuity issues, and then the fact that I still want to see Adam have that growth at the end of the episode. Those are really the only things keeping it from a 3 for me. This episode is just so much fun. I love seeing the Spallians and Caligars for the first time. The fighting is amazing. The He-Man, Randor, Adam relationship, I really feel that it fleshes it out. And it's a ton of fun for me. I've enjoyed this episode ever since I first watched it. It's always a blast to come back to. And there's even a little mini Grayskull door down in Subternia, so that's really cool.
You've really thrown me off my game here. I'm so confused. I feel like we watched completely different episodes. Even as we reviewed this, and I was going through my gripes, you agreed with a lot of my gripes, and yet still.
I said I can see where you're coming from.
And the fact that you just totally ignore or rationalize in your head He-Man standing behind the door as his dad's getting his ass kicked.
To me, sometimes episodes are just so much fun that you can ignore some of those errors. So
for me, I did not find this episode fun. I did not. There was very little I enjoyed about it. I did like the banter between the evil warriors. I loved some of the fight parts of it. I liked that Randor really stepped up and showed who he is as a warrior. Those are the things that I liked. Everything else I absolutely hated, like so much that it's very hard for me to not curse as I'm saying this. Like the continuity, Adam's attitude, the whole He-Man just disappearing and then being behind the door, the stupidity of Randor who has led armies. Like this is a guy that is an experienced warrior. This is not some rookie. And the fact that twice he gives up his one advantage, the whole thing, just the Caligars not knowing about Randor, but knowing about like all of this stuff is so bad that I can't overlook it with the few good things. I got to give this 2 Havoc staffs. And the only thing saving it from 3 is some of the fight scenes and Randor. So, yeah.
So I actually do have my spreadsheet. I went back through and finished it up. So previously, our biggest discrepancy in an episode was Sky War. And that was you at 2 Havoc staffs and me at 1 Power Sword. So now this one has now lengthened that. This is now our biggest divide in episode, again, with me, 2 Power Swords. You still at 2 Havoc staffs, so you're putting it, and that's kind of where I was
actually considering 1 Havoc staff, but your 2 Power Swords pissed me off so much that I had to give it an extra Havoc staff.
So if
I would have went first, I probably would have went 1 Havoc staff.
So the disarming move from Randor bumped it up to 1 Havoc staff, and then my liking it bumped it
right
back
down.
Okay.
Yes.
But I honestly
that's what you get for going first.
That feels right to me. Like and it's funny because that's when I was watching it. I'm like, there are a lot of shades of Sky War in here. I bet Curtis is gonna hate it. Yeah. So
to me, it's just bad storytelling. It's just they happen to be going to the same place at the same time and all the like. It's just not good storytelling in my opinion. But if you had fun, that's great. There's been a lot of episodes that I did have fun with and I've enjoyed watching. This is not one of them.
Okay.
So
and that's why we do this. All right, guys.
Sound off in the comments. What did you guys think? What did you like? And more importantly, what did you dislike? So
absolutely. Send us an email, logpod85@gmail.com. We had so much fun on the last listener feedback episode. We're definitely going to be doing it again at the end of season 1, and probably multiple times in season 2 as well. So yeah, to make sure to get your comments in, let us know what you're thinking. give us some comments down below there. Like, share, subscribe, helps our metrics out. And I will say, for those of you who are watching on Amazon Prime, we've got actually got like a dual mistake now. If you look at the next episode, it says it's the mystery. Well, technically, it says it's the Meister, Myster, of Anwat Gar. Not only is that the incorrect spelling, because it should be the mystery of Anwat Gar, but the next episode is actually the monster within, not the mystery of Anwat Gar. So, again, if you push play, because I let it play just to make sure. If you let it play through, it is the monster within, but the title on Amazon Prime is wrong again. So,
I appreciate you bringing up the listener feedback episode. What was your favorite question that we got during that episode?
Well, I don't want to spoil it for those.
Oh.
For those
in case they haven't watched that yet, and
in case they skipped that one, because I know some people like to skip the listener feedback type episodes. Definitely go watch it, because it was a great time. Me and Curtis
tons of fun.
Had a hoot.
Definitely
go and watch it. It's well worth your time.
For sure.
All right, and until next time, guys, enjoy the monster within.
Oh, come on.